Hello everybody, welcome to my channel for the last battle report of the Interregio 2022 in France. As a reminder, we capped 2 times on Saturday, we lost by 1 point on Saturday as well, and then Sunday morning we won, but not as much as expected, only 65, and the cap being 80. We are a bit far away from the top team, so after the 4th round we are a bit disappointed, but we know that the painting score can change things. In the Interregio, it's quite a lot of impact on the final note with more than 20%. So we know that we have good looking armies and we might end up compensating some points with that. So we'll try our best to do as much points as possible for the last round. We are playing against the Belgium team, Belgium 1, and I was facing their B-Star player who is playing a beautiful army, Spartan army, awesome looking army, so real pleasure to face him. This was my list, you know it already, and this was my opponent's list. By the way, you have all army list on new recruit, so you just have to search for the tournament and then you have everything there in case you want to copy something, no problem. So you have his list. He has a Master Druidism, then he has Beast Lord on the Chariot with Death Cheater and the Fatal Folly. He has a Mino Chieftain with Resilience 6 and Regen with a great weapon, who is a great totem bearer. Really like the character setup that he fielded. Then he has a big block of Wildhorn that is pretty cheap for 39 guys, with the Gnarled, which is the one that does distracting hard target, I guess. Then he has 15 Wildhorn in ambush, 3 Raiding Chariot to possibly have within or behind the Beast Lord on Chariot. So I think it's again very good choice. Then he fielded a big Mino unit to have the BSB within, to make it a strong scoring block in the middle of his line. A couple of Chaff Piece and 2 Gortak. So very straightforward list. I like a lot the design. I think it's well designed and was very happy to play against it, because I think it's always interesting to face lists of armies that you know very well. And as you know, I'm training a lot against Lichmeister. We play a lot together, and he has Beast Lord and Vampire Covenant, so I have a good knowledge of the strengths and weaknesses of those 2 army books. So always happy to get one of these in the matchups. We played Sacred Target and Dawn Assault. Yeah, my first thought on this combination is could be kind of hard to win. If you see, you can always position. I think my usual pick is to position somewhere here on the line of the 12-inch far away from my deployment zone, but in a zone where my opponent can put nothing to face it, making it very hard, especially against my list, to really push against my strong flank, so to say. Spell selection, obviously Swarm of Insect, very good against Gortak. Totemic Summon, very annoying mainly for his chaff. And then my 3 usual buff plus Chin Goal. And on the right, I forgot to mention, but he picked, I think, the Master of Earth, Summer Growth, Stone Skin, and Healing Water. I think that was his pick, which makes sense. Matchup analysis. Yeah, I like the fact that I have 2 scenarios in mind. So either I can choose side and then I can use Piece of Terrain to put even further distance between us, which is going to be in my advantage because he does 0 point from distance and I can do something. So definitely a risk-free approach if I choose the side and make it makes hard for him to push, even if I don't start and I put distance between us, because he's coming from far away. And if I start, I think it's definitely even harder for him to push, because I can get control of the map and try to claim some board control. Like I said, Sacred Target, Dawn Assault, likely to be a draw. I have tools to get rid of his Gortax, sorry, I wrote Gorgons, but Gortax, and small unit from distance, therefore my estimation 12. I think it's a game where I can secure standoff and get some points if my opponent doesn't decide to go crazy. Harder for me to push as long as the Gortak are alive. I'm going to avoid giving Gortak any opportunity to go crazy in close combat. I have enough experience against them to know that they can do crazy stuff. So definitely I want to get rid from them from distance and then try to go in CC in a second step if I still have possibility to do it, basically. Deployment. So again, I forgot to take the picture at the beginning, but I'm going to try to explain, not so hard to recap what happened. So he won the roll for side and gave me these 3/4 where I have an impassable in the middle of my, in my strong flank basically. And he picked that part of the map. I thought he might use impassable and the hill to hide Gortak, possibly character on the chariot, but mainly the Gortax. So I think the how he chose the map makes sense. Obviously, he put his second target in front of his strong flank, and I did the same here. Not in front, not on the far right because of the impassable, but just facing my strong unit, and also not being too close to the side, side of the map. Why? To the board edge, because he can ambush units. So I want to force him to go for it. So to put it on my way towards him, basically. And then I drop everything for first turn. I put a giant on the right, expecting him to try at some point to ambush towards here. So I need a giant to take care of that. Also, then I put my Death Star, some tribesmen here, the Merc Vets, Bruises, Chaff, another giant here, another giant somewhere here. Then my Frosty here, and Scrapling looking that way. Basically to make him think, I might go for it. If you try to go heavily facing me, then basically I could go for it supported by some monsters. So you need to get rid of them. And then he decided to counter-deploy in a quite defensive fashion, basically trying to put a lot of distance between us and making sure I get no shooting turn 1, maybe even turn 2. So he put his chariot on the far left, 2 Gortax, a Minnow, a Wild on block, Lord on the chariot, his 3 piece of chaff here. So straight away when I saw the deployment, I saw some potential weaknesses that I could exploit, and the first one being there is nothing here on the hill playing, trying to zone me or force me to use multiple units to attack the hill. So I knew for a fact that this was for me the part of the map that I wished to attack, try to apply pressure from here, while I was trying to maintain some kind of standoff here around the ruin and so on, with both my Death Star and the Merc Vets, and basically making very hard for him to push all the way along. So basically, that was my early thought after deployment. And then let's move on to turn 1. So my turn 1, basically, I start by marching the Merc Vets, marching the Death Star, keeping a scoring unity in the back, pushing my giant as much as possible, but still, I know that he might ambush somewhere here. Turning around my Scrapling, moving forward 4, and basically with them I'm going to do 8, 8, 8, 8, and at some point end up here if I need to. And the rest here, I just wanted to avoid him being able to push Max forward towards me without having to think too much about what I might do, because I'm so far away with my 2 main block. So what I did basically is put my 3 monsters looking at him and telling him, if you push Max with the Minnow that are 3 wide, I could potentially charge you with 3 monsters. And I'm not sure you are able to hold to that. So basically I can try that. So basically I wanted to force him either to move slower as what he wanted, and allow me to gain further board control with my unit and then be higher in the ground, basically, on turn 2. Or force him to feed me some chaff early on. So we'll see. And here I kept some line of sight for the bruisers also to charge stuff in case I need to, because they are cheaper than monsters and less flexible as well. In Magic Phase, I got lucky with a big swarm of insect onto Gortak and did 5 wounds, so crazy start. I was really happy about that. That's typically Swarm of Insects. Sometimes it do well, sometimes it does nothing, but against monsters that have no armor save at all, it can do a lot. So very happy about the start. His turn 1. So he tried to gain some ground, so he used the Relentless with them, pushes 15, pushes them max, push the Gorgon max as well, both of them, so the Gortak, sorry. Move the chariot also a bit forward. I think here the right play would have been to move toward this part of the map that is a bit too weak, so he used only the Lord to try to zone me, but is still not covering a lot of ground and all the options. 2 pieces of chaff are kept behind the hill, while he used the last piece of chaff to chaff 2 of my monsters. So I could have potentially put a bit more space to make that harder for him to achieve. Potentially he still had some, I could have been a bit further in the back, but doesn't matter too much, so decided to chaff me and then push Max with all his unit basically. Magic Phase, He got thrown off, then D6, strength 5, did 5 wounds to my Triton near the house, so the small unit. And then he got out target on the minus. My turn 2. So here you see one of the strengths of my list. You saw how I was before, and now all the monsters retreat. So basically I charge with my bruisers. That was a charge on a 5, and what I like about that is the fact that it triggers a frenzy check for his minor unit. So it's 9 maximized rollable, but if he failed that one, he's in big trouble, because then I have all my army looking at him. So that's what I did. I took that charge. He decided to hold to avoid multiple charge on his minor maybe. I don't know if I would have done it or not, but he decided to hold that one, continue to retreat with the scrappling and form a solid battle line with all my unit. Start to move around with the giant to threaten some mischief, continue to move forward with this giant, and basically what I did here is to protect my smaller unit, being the Tribesman and the Saber-tooth Tiger somewhere here. I put that further away from the board edge. I measure that is not going to be able to ambush, move forward, and do throwing weapon on them. So basically I think they are protected and the cat is protected. And the rest I don't care too much, because it shouldn't do much on the merc vets or some monsters. So basically that was the idea. In the magic phase, I dispel the throne, obviously. I got Totemic Summon off here all the way in back. The breast weapon didn't do much, I guess. And with shooting attack of the merc vets, I kill one Mino. This combat, I should have been 2 wide. Being 1 wide, I was not able to kill everybody. I kill only 3, which is basically the scenario that you want to avoid, because you're going to rally on an easy check. I decided to restrain, because it's my plan to trigger some frenzy bait as far away as possible from his line. So I decided to restrain, pass the check, and he fled 11, ended up all the way here somewhere. He's turn 2, and he failed the frenzy check, which is huge, because when you saw the deployment, most likely you saw exactly like me. He's trying to play it quite conservative. His team is probably okay with him bringing an 8 or 9, so he's trying to play it quite safe. And now that he failed the frenzy check, it's huge, because it's going to open the game immensely. And it's not something that I personally expected from this game, so it's going to make things very interesting. So he failed the frenzy check. Here again, that could have been, I think, easily avoided by either change in deployment or making sure that he's out of the range, or that I need to overrun or something like that. So this is quite huge for him. Obviously, I gave him no other charges. That's key when you trigger frenzy, when you try to frenzy bait someone. Make sure that there is no long charge possibility, because he could have just easily declared long charge into something and then fail charge, which is something I didn't do. So we charge that one, get the charge off because it was very close. Then push max with the go attack, rally his chaff piece, continue to push with his block, reposition the Lord, and now it does the right move, that is to bring the chariot to try to get rid of the totemic. He needs to move away the dogs. As you can see, I did nothing with the breast weapon, but basically he moves away the dog, because if they stay here, they are just going to die. So he just moved them away somewhere here, but I think he failed probably the march check. I don't know. I think he couldn't. Did he fail the march check? Yeah, it's... Let's see my notes. I don't know if he failed the march check. Could have hit... I think he couldn't have chaffed my Death Star. I think so. Or either that, or he failed the march check. Not sure. Magic phase. He failed your control. I decided... I took a bit of time to think about using Binding Scroll or not. And that was one of the lessons that I got when playing the last time against the Beastard of Lichmeister, is using the Binding Scroll before you engage. I wasn't sure at this point of time if I wanted to engage or not, because basically taking now a charge into his unit, even, let's assume I get rid of the unit, then what happens? He can counter charge me with a big unit with 2 go attacks. You remember what I told you at the beginning in the pre-game analysis. I don't want to get charged by go attack and take huge risks, so I wasn't sure I'm going into combat, so definitely that was the main trigger for me not using the Binding Scroll. He got Stone Skin off, I dispelled the regen, close combat, he got rid of my bruises and just restrain. My turn 3, I decided against charging, so I decided not to charge. since he had Stone Skin. And like I mentioned, the main trigger for me for this decision was the amount of counter charge available. I wanted to take more time. Basically, was still trapped in the middle of the map, and basically I had time to get rid of Gortak, at least one, before I want to engage with them. So that's what I did. I used the dog to chaff his Minnow Star. Finally, the dog is used as chaff, and I positioned my Mervets to shoot everything at this guy who has, I think, 1 wound remaining, or maybe heal 1, so 2 wound remaining. Continue to retreat those guys. I forgot to mention that he ambushed those guys to threaten me, so I just put my giant in front of him, and basically I can breast weapon him, and then if it's not enough to panic him, I can charge him next round. I make sure that no matter the reform, he cannot march here through because of the gap, and then no matter the reform, he cannot escape my line of sight. So next round I'm getting rid of this unit with the giant. And the rest I just make my line stronger, so come closer with the Merc-Vets from his Minos. Reform my Death Star, because I thought as well being 4 wide makes hard for me to optimize the contact since he's also 3 wide. So I move 3 wide, move a bit forward, make sure he has no overrun, and reposition my giant in a position where I threaten his flank in case he charge, or I can as well threaten here all the way to the top. I forgot to mention what happened here. What happened here? Oh yeah, I charge the dogs. I think I charged first. I was able to get a line of sight here. So I charge here. He failed the terror, fled off the board. I redirect my charge against the dog, got the charge of the dog, and he decided to flee all the way here. So this is how it ended up. I don't know. Yeah, I think maybe I started with the dog and then redirect on him and decided to pursue the dog. I think so. Anyway, so the dog ended up here losing a lot of bodies on DT, so he has only 1 dog left, which is great because I got rid of most of the chaff. My totemic just moved all the way here to be annoying. I'm going to get charged and die, but doesn't matter much. In my magic phase, he dispelled the swarm. I failed totemic summon, unfortunately, and I got to break the spirit off on the Minnow, just telling them, if you charge my chaff, you're going to lose a lot of wounds, which is nice. And if you don't charge, chaff is likely to be here. Shooting attack, I finished the 2 wounds remaining on the Gortak, so I kill 1 Gortak, which is really nice for me. His turn 3 is going to pass his frenzy check, move a bit back. He decided to basically, to avoid me trying a charge against the Minos, he's trying to tempt me and telling me, if you charge the Minos, then the Gortak is going to eat something here. So he decided to push the Gortak. I don't know if he could have just stayed a bit further away from the Mervrets. Basically, he's going to tempt me to charge him and take bad decision, maybe. The Chariot charged my Totemic Summon. He repositioned his Lord to zone to get a gap here to counter-charge in case I want to go for it. He moved back. Move this block, but not in a way to be able to counter-charge here in the corner if he needs to. I think could have just positioned slightly differently to be able to get a straight line here. And reposition the Gargoyle as well. I don't know also about this positioning. Could have maybe put them here for future chaff next round, just being protected from my shooting and so on. In the magic phase, he got thrown off. I dispelled the regen. He got a Master of Hers, but did only 1 wound on my cat, so here I was a bit lucky. Wasn't too bad for me because I had another chaff available in case I need to. And then he got +3 toughness on the Minos. So definitely I'm not going to charge again. We will see. I still have time and I want to get rid of this second Gortak before I go against him. So he made here my decision a bit easier because I can just use the chaff again, get rid of the Gortak, and then get a higher amount of threat against his Minos. So let's move on to my turn 4. I charged the ambush. They passed third check. Chaff him again. Move my unit forward to get short range with the Mercvets against his Gortak. I was able to move out of arc with the Frost Mammoth without marching. So I'm going to get 2 hunting spears here while looking at the flank of the Minos. So really interesting for me. I positioned the Strength 7 Giant on the hill, quite far away from the Giant, but still threatening a lot of things. Reposition a bit forward my Death Star, the Mercvets, and basically I make sure the Gortak has only 2 charge options. He cannot see the Scraplings, so he can either charge my Mercvets or charge my Death Star, but he cannot charge the giant. Basically, it's not possible to make contact. In the magic phase, dispel the throne, he dispels Swarm of Insect. I failed Totemic Summon again, but I got Break the Spirit off on, I think, the minus again? Oh no, I did cast it on the Gortak. Just thinking if he wants to march away from me, he's going to likely die. Shooting, I did 5 wounds out of 6, so he's still alive on 1 wound. Didn't do anything with the hunting spears, and then with the shooting of the Merc Vets, I did 5 wounds from short range. So really happy about that. And that's it for my turn. Yeah, I just got rid of this unit, they fled off the board, and I restrain. His turn 4, he passes the frenzy again, moves sideways to... I don't know why he didn't move backwards, basically, again. So just move sideways. Failed the march check with the go attack because he was, I think, under Break the Spirit, so didn't want to march on 1 wound remaining, so he just moved 7 back. But basically, he's already in big trouble because he's likely to die next round. And position his Beast Lord to do throwing weapon on my 1 wound remaining Chaff. Now he got the right spot with the Chaff unit, reposition the Chariot. Remember, here I'm on the hill, and he kept those guys to get the scoring on the secondary objective. Here, I think, quick thought on that, he could have just ambushed his scoring unit of 15 guys here back, rather than sacrificing them here, and then be able to push further forward with the big block of Wild Horn that are pretty annoying for me to fight. So you could have just pushed them forward, get the ambush here, and that's enough to get the secondary draw. He got the throne off, and what surprised me, he didn't buff this time the Minos. He got Summer Growth on his go attack, and that's going to be a key moment in the game because it's my turn and he has no buff on the Minos. Shooting phase, he killed my Chaff, and now that's time when I took my timeout. I was sure it was the right time to charge. My only question that I discussed with him was which one, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 charge available here. Here is only 3 wides, and I was a bit afraid if I do the bad decision, the go attack with 1 wound remaining could backfire and basically kill stuff. So, and I was a bit afraid that if I fail a key charge, I think basically this one, I think I had 2 7s. I think that was a 7 and a 7. I had a 9 with the Giant and a 6 Swift Stride with the flank of the Frosty. But obviously I cannot field everything. So I basically, the decision that we went with was to charge everything, and then depending on who succeed, I can choose who I want to optimize. But I was afraid if I charge only my main block, if I fail the Merc Vets, then I get only the Death Star. I'm not sure to get through because there are still minus. I'm only a strength 4 unit, depending a lot on what does the Great Khan do. So basically, I wasn't sure that's going to be enough. And if I get stuck here, I get counter charge, I'm in big trouble. So that's the decision we went with. And I rolled successfully 3 charges, decided to fail charge with the Frosty and get the other 2 in. And the Giant failed charge, basically. So this is now a key moment. And I think a decisive charge to get 2 of them. I lost 1 model due to DTs, which is still very important because I lost a lot of impact hit due to this remaining model forming a rank before. So yeah, kind of huge. And basically I should go through. Then the overrun is a 6 and here is the 9. So we will see. Keep some scoring unit for this one. Here I keep the standoff with the Chariot, not to... And then here I push my Giant. Here's the fail charge, and those guys going to march also for secondary, but I don't really need them. In Magic Phase, I got +1 resilience on the Merc Vets and Break the Spirit on the Minos. And then close combat, I kill everybody but the BSB, which is a bit the worst case scenario. Striking back with the champion and the BSB, he strike at my BSB and kill my BSB outright, so I lost my BSB in the process. His BSB fled 11, I didn't catch him, so he ended up all the way here. He passes the panic check here, and then I got both overrun in. So this one was pretty easy. This one was a bit more lucky. If I fail the overrun, I mean, the most thing that was important for me was to get like a 4 to go out of arc of the go attack, basically. And if I go out of arc of the go attack, they can charge me, but they are only strength 3. So I wasn't too afraid of the combat. Obviously, it's a big plus for me to pin them down. And there are not a lot in the secure target zone. So if I kill a lot of them, they are going to be out of it. So definitely huge overrun to get that. He's turn 5, so yeah, big trouble for him. It just charged with the Gore attack against my Frosty to get the points, move away with the Chaff, reposition those guys basically. Magic Phase, he got Binding Scroll, Stone Skin, and now I was quite happy to get the Binding Scroll left. I dispelled the regen. He got Distracting on the Lord and on the big block, and that was it. Close combat, he killed my Frosty, failed to restrain, and needed to... Yeah, he didn't kill me, he pursued me, failed to restrain, pursued me, and ended up here, so that's good news for me. And here he decided to do this combat first, which makes sense. I left the mage on 1 wound remaining and did good amount of wounds. He passes his steadfast check. And this one, and he rallies BSB obviously. And this one I got the challenge with my Great Can. He did like 2 wounds to me. I did something like 3 or 4. He had a very, very complicated check to do my static res. 3 ranks, 10 darts, a charge, and then 1 more or 2 more wounds than him. So he fled, and I pursued and got the overrun into his flank. So that was going to be my turn next, but I'm already into the flank, which is, yeah, awesome for me. So here you saw great picture of the battle. So here's the overrun for my turn 6. Basically, I just got +1 resilience in magic on the Merc-Vets to continue to kill him. And then we are going to play that fast. I'm not going to finish the Gore attack on 2 wounds remaining with the breast weapon, even I tried to. And here basically, no, he had 4 wounds left, so not so likely to kill him. And here basically I didn't kill everybody, we make that fast, but basically I allocated a lot of attack on the Shaman to avoid killing all the guy remaining. And then I just pursued with my Death Star onto the Chariot. Those guys just pursue forward but didn't catch his BSB, and I'm going to end up eating those guys on his turn 6, and that's the end of the game. Ended up being a 19-1, so crazy battle, not expected to be that open. As you saw, my Death Star started here, ended up all the way here to the top. So sometimes battle go in a way that you cannot expect, thanks to the frenzy check that he failed. So huge swing at the beginning of turn 2. Obviously could have avoided that by making sure that if I charge, it doesn't trigger frenzy or positioning his block differently. But yeah, he paid a heavy price for that small mistake. Post-game analysis, so yeah, he aimed to move quickly forward. Was it needed? I don't know. Probably not. So he could have also pushed a bit less to avoid the frenzy bait in such a fashion. Beasthead having almost nothing on the hill to stop me gave me a lot of freedom. So like I said, I think he should have positioned the three chariot on the hill. They are making a very good zoning of my threats, and I couldn't have attacked the hill the way I did. I waited for the right time to engage the minus, and I think I was right to be patient. Basically avoid the CC buff, and I think again he made a key mistake by not buffing those minus at the key turn, where also he didn't move backwards, and then he didn't buff them, which was for me a green signal to charge him. Merc-Vets making the charge and the overrun helped me to get a bigger score and secure the secondary objective as well. And Great Khan finally an opportunity to shine. I didn't need him to do wounds just to survive and helping me get the win on static res, which he did. And I think for him, if the goal of his game plan is to block the game and just save points and get it as close as possible to a tie, I think he should have switched the wild on block and the minus and used the impassable with the Gore attack and the heal with the chariot, basically to avoid me pushing too hard, zoning me, hide the Gore attack from my range damage, heal them, and try to give me as few points as possible. I think that was potentially achievable if it was his goal. Since he didn't start the game, I think it makes hard for him to push me. So that's why he decided to go for this game plan, probably. This round went very well for us. Basically, we won big on a couple of tables, 19, 18, 16, 17, then 11 on one table, and then we lost 7 on the last table, but this was enough for us to cap this round. So very good ending for us. We will see. I'm not spoiling yet the result. If you didn't see it, I'm going to talk about it in the usual recap conclusion video that I do at the end of tournaments. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. This was actually a very good end of the tournament for me, because the most entertaining, the most fighty game at the end of the tournament, which is also a good ending for the battle report of this tournament. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you liked it, and talk to you soon on the channel. Bye bye.